Wet feet.
Hello? Let's start. Ma'am, if you give us some, hello? Thank you all for coming and welcome everyone for tonight's meeting for the Wareham Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight is Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. It is 6:30 p.m. and we are at the room 520 of the Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. We also have Zoom, if somebody like to participate in Zoom. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I make a roll call. My far right, Mr. Troy Larson, Ms. Veronica Devenese, our clerk, Mr. Jim Akabachi, my far left, Mr. Chris Conte, and we have on Zoom Mr. Richard Semple. We have some quick business to do with the minutes, the approval of the minutes for 5:28 and 6:11.
You didn't introduce yourself. You gave everybody a...
Oh, myself, the chair, Nazi Al-Khalasi. Thank you, Jimmy.
No problem. Meeting minutes, we have two sets of minutes, one from 5:28 that were tabled prior and one from 6:11/2025. Both sets have been reviewed. There were some edits made on the, which ones did you change? The most recent ones, correct?
Both of them.
Both of them, okay. And they've been updated. I'll do 5:28/25. I move to accept 5:28/25 as currently printed.
I get a motion to grant, to approve the meetings for 5:28/25 and 6:11/25 by Mr. Akabachi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Chris. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jim?
All right,
Richard?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
500.
I further move to accept 6:11/25 as presented, as currently printed.
Okay, that, another one. Do I have a second on that?
South second.
Okay, so again, I merged them, both of them. I said for both of them.
Oh, you
so-
did?
Yeah.
Oh,
you did.
then it's 500 on both of them, sorry.
Right. Before we go forward, I wanna,
Your folder, you didn't get a
You can get a folder.
what do you need?
She wants a copy of the minutes. Of the agenda. The agenda.
Okay, I'll give you mine. I'm just gonna, Jim,
Troy had,
just gonna get, I need a motion,
I printed one, I brought it with me.
We'll catch up to you, don't worry.
I need a motion to organize the board. Can I have a second on that?
Second.
what'd you say?
I need a motion to reorganize. I want to move Veronica to an associate and Chris to permanent if he wishes, because Veronica gonna have, she's busy this coming fall, summer.
Sure.
So if you all guys all together are good
So
for
are
this,
you making the motion and you're looking for a second?
I need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, second for that. So Veronica becomes associate member, Ms. Devenese, and Mr. Conti will become permanent member. We send it to selectmen and let it take its course. The second by Jim. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, Nazi, aye. So that
So
carries.
is that going to be under 6 other business?
Yeah, we'll send our recommendation to the selectmen and they'll do from there. Okay, 4-23 through storage. Anybody here from through storage? We need Phil. Is Phil, Phil, you wanna come forward, please? Is True Storage online, on Zoom? Anyway, have a seat, please. Just your name for the record, Phil.
Sure. Phil Cordero, Allen and Major Associates.
Okay, I guess they're asking for a final sign-off, 2400 Cranberry Highway. Are we all good to go?
So they are asking for the final sign-off. As a reminder, Mr. Chair, a month ago when they asked for it, we had reviewed the as-built and identified that they didn't install some drainage along the shoulder of Cranberry Highway.
Okay.
So they were going off to determine what happened and how that got omitted. I believe their engineer, Nobis Group, submitted a letter through the planning office to the board, basically asking the board to accept it as a field change in that they did not permit the drainage swale along Cranberry Highway with Mass DOT. Mass DOT accepted it as they offered it to them, and they're requesting that you accept it as a change to ultimately issue the permit,
So the state accepted to dump water on the highway?
apparently, Mr. Chair.
Okay. What do you guys think?
And their CO has been issued already, I believe, by the,
I believe it has, and this is really administrative.
How much runoff, how many feet in the driveway? It's to the highway?
It's about 20, about 100 by 20. It's all grassed area at the face of the parking to the street line. It's fairly minimal flow, quite frankly, but the state, under their standard operating procedure, doesn't want any developed flow going into their state layout, which is what we had identified during the peer review. They acknowledged it, they made changes to accept that. The board ultimately accepted those plans, and they indicated the reason they chose not to build it is their contractor thought it may be problematic to some of the other underground utilities that were being installed in there, electric, transformer. I'll take it at face value. I'm not sure I would agree with their position, but that's what they're offering to the board.
All right, what's the wishes?
do we need to do a written okey-dokey, or do we just need to take a vote?
Take a vote.
Okay. I'm okay with it. I do recall the conversation and the transformer, and we found a way of explaining it. So, yeah, I move we accept it and give them their final sign-off.
All right, we have a motion by Jim to
I'll
give them a
second.
sign-off.
Oh, hold on.
Josh wants to talk before we vote.
Hey, Josh.
Nope, didn't need to talk. I just wanted to make sure I was up on it as a panelist. Thank you.
Can't hear. Can anybody hear that?
Said he wanted to make sure that we knew he was on the
He said what?
panel, that he's here. Is that what he said? Yeah.
We just wanted to make sure we knew he was online? Okay.
So I second.
All right,
Moved and seconded.
Second by Mark. Any discussion on this? I hear none. All in favor, say aye. Troy? Aye. Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And myself, Nazir, aye. 500. Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Phil.
You got 6 votes, but it's a 5-0 is what I'm recording.
Right.
Okay.
All right, continue public hearing 1-25, 2 East Boulevard. Who's here for East Boulevard? 2 East
I think
Boulevard.
that might be online.
We're not gonna hear a word online.
Got anybody stepping up on that? No? No hands raised?
What was East Boulevard, do you remember?
That's the one where they bought the real estate company that used to be a fish market, and they wanted to put all the parking around it?
Madden. All right,
Yeah,
let's
Bill.
continue this.
Oh,
Can we
okay.
get a motion to continue till July 9th?
So moved.
He was supposed to continue his extension last meeting to July 9th, and I don't see the deadline updated.
So that if we extend it, we need them to extend the deadline?
Yeah, the deadline on here still says
yeah.
5/13/2025, but at the last meeting, they agreed to extend it to
So
7/9.
we've bypassed the deadline, we're past it.
Yeah, but they agreed to extend it.
I didn't see anything, though. Did you see the extension?
All right, we make a motion to deny without prejudice.
So moved.
Get a motion to deny without prejudice from Jim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Troy. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Nazir, aye. So 500, denied without prejudice. Patty, make sure you add without prejudice. Okay, 4-25 RPB LLC, comprehensive permit.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, Councilor.
For the record, Paul Haverty, Blatten, Bobrowski, Haverty, and Silverstein, representing the applicant. I know at the last meeting, I had discussed that I was going to be preparing a draft decision. I'm still working on that. I will get that to you in advance of the next meeting. The other issue that we had discussed was whether or not there was a requirement for solar on the project, and we did submit a letter. State Building Code, as updated, would require it to be solar-ready, which is what we are proposing. We are still in the process and will be in the process of determining whether or not to actually include the solar. That'll be a decision that's made prior to construction. Because it is solar-ready, even if, when it's initially constructed, solar isn't put into the development, it can be added later. It's simply just going to be a matter of economics and whether or not it makes sense. But at this stage, given where we stand with regards to the tariffs, with regards to the incentives for solar, it's too soon for us to make that determination.
Right. So solar ready, if you all know, they put conduits to the roof or conduits to the parking lot for future installation.
They're required to do that, correct? That's part of the
They
Yeah,
should.
code.
that is the proposal.
It's a requirement.
10th edition, yeah. Okay, or Troy, would you have a question on that?
I do not.
Veronica? Veronica?
I'm just curious if there's been any, if you might know, or your team might know, if they've investigated at all having maybe solar on those exterior lights in the parking lot, if they know, like, what the cost impact for that might be, or, something like that. I mean, obviously, the board would like to see some kind of solar go on to the project in some way.
Sure. I don't know if that has been examined, but I can certainly go back and have that discussion.
Exterior lights, just a parking lot, you mean?
What Veronica, I believe, correct me, what I believe Veronica's alluding to is that the parking lot lights could certainly be self-sufficient with a solar panel on each pole and their own light, opposed to, hardwired. Is that what?
Yes.
Yeah. That would be, if I may,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
believe Richard brought this up. There was never an indication that there was a requirement for solar. The board understands that the code requires the project be solar-ready. The comment that's been turned around, I don't know if cleverly or accidentally or just politically, the comment by one of our board members was that this developer has been involved with solar in this town in multiple locations, places where trees have been clear-cut, and they've been solar for profit. The board member brought it up because he said he thought it would be a great olive branch from this developer to demonstrate to the town that they were doing solar also for the environment, not just for profit. And that if they included solar in this project, it would be politically very nicely accepted. And the answer was, if we're required to do it, the code will do whatever the code asks us to do. We knew you'd do it. It's just like saying if the code says we can't use 2x4s, we gotta use 2x6s. That's the code. We know you gotta follow the code. The board member's comment was that this particular developer has had the benefit of a lot of generosity from this town, from this board, from projects out on Cranberry Highway, at Rosebrook, and all over town with solar. And the board member was suggesting that it would be a very smart thing to have a solar component. Not whether or not it was required, whether or not it would be offered. Thank you.
So
Go ahead.
my understanding from the discussion at the last meeting was that there was at least some suggestion that in the upcoming stretch code, it might actually be required. So we did address that in the letter that we submitted to the.
And that's why I just wanted to make sure, required or not, the board member was suggesting that
Understood.
it would be.
And what I would respond to that is solar development is very, very much dependent upon subsidies from the government, right? And it's dependent upon, most of the solar
I can put
components.
solar on my house without a subsidy from the government. It's just a matter of how deep my pockets are.
Well, correct. And so that gets to the economic viability of the project, right? So, yeah, they could put solar on the project, and it might make the project uneconomic and therefore unable to be financed, which, kills the project. But there is the potential that putting solar on the project may actually be economically beneficial. And that's a determination that will come at the time of construction, because there are too many moving pieces at this stage to actually be able to make that determination.
So is that how they decide how much concrete to use? Because there's so many moving pieces, they determine whether it's feasible, if it's 5,000-pound concrete or 3,000-pound
The
concrete?
concrete is necessary.
Ah,
You
it's
can't
just,
do-
okay.
Well, you can't do the project without the concrete.
Okay.
can,
I'm
in
not,
fact, do it
I
without
won't
solar.
further debate this. I think I've made my and my fellow board members' point.
Understood.
Okay, we have to be careful. We can't mix, because the developer doing different project. This has nothing to do with that.
I understand that was, there was
We
a
cannot-
suggestion, it wasn't
Right,
a...
I know, I understand, and we cannot penalize this project. We gotta be very careful how we approach it. We cannot penalize this project because the developer makes money somewhere else. This isn't how, unfortunately, this is not how it works.
No,
Whoever wants-
I get it.
I'm just trying to make it clear. And if it's deemed uneconomically for the developer, we could believe it, or we could hear it another way, and we all know what's the other way.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it right there. Chris, what do you think?
I'm fine with the project, no questions.
Richard?
I like the project. Richard?
No, thank you, Jim, for speaking for me, and I appreciate what you said. And I don't have any questions at all. Kind of insulted, but that's beside the point.
All right, very good. Like I said, these projects are restricted, and we can only do so much. It has nothing to do with siding with somebody or
No, I
against.
get it. I get it. And Richard
I
gets it.
understand you guys discussed putting solar panel in the roof is minimal. If you put one unit of HVAC, high efficiency, it'll make up the whole roof.
Yeah, I get it.
I understand you guys want it over the parking lot, but you don't over the parking lot. Steel structure goes $2, $3, $4 million. It becomes the project unfeasible, and we will be turned down at housing. This is how it works. Correct me if I'm wrong, Councilor.
That is how the process works. Housing Appeals Committee has oversight over any decision the board makes.
Correct.
And if that decision renders the project uneconomic, it will be overturned.
Right. So that being said, you guys would like, anybody in here would like to speak on this matter, in favor, against, or on Zoom? I hear none. That being said, let's move to close.
So moved.
I have a motion to close this public hearing number...
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Yes,
25.
go ahead, sir.
as I had suggested last time, you're better off leaving the hearing
Leave it
open.
open
your
until-
draft.
Wanna
I
keep
get
it
you
open?
that draft decision,
Yeah.
so that you can then discuss that draft decision. I can give you input. Anybody from the public can give you input, and as it relates to the conditions of that draft. And you won't run afoul of an open meeting law issue with that.
Okay, so what should we leave it until?
Do we need to rescind our closing the public portion, or do...
No, it's okay, we'll leave it open.
Okay. So you want to continue until July?
July 9th, is that the next meeting?
Okay, do I have a motion for that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to continue to July 9th, 2025.
Okay, we have a motion to continue 4-25 RPB 2 LLC, 200 Rosebrook. Motion to continue till July 9. Do I have by Jim, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Troy. All in favor, say aye. Troy? Veronica?
I,
Jimmy?
Aye.
7, we said 7-9, right? Richard?
Abstain.
Abstain to continue. And Chris, I guess your vote doesn't mean anything right now. Myself, aye. So 4-0-1. And that's for July 1. Richard abstain. July 9, sorry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
For the board.
Thank you.
we still don't have deadlines on a lot of these. We need to have the
Before
deadlines.
we're still within our deadlines, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we are. I'll take a look at that, and if I need to send you an extension, I will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, you have a good night.
Yeah.
Let me take some.
when you get to it. I'm gonna start reading the next one, is that okay?
Public, yeah, okay, we're gonna move to new public hearings. 21-25, New Hampshire signs variance, 2501 Cranberry Highway.
Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on June 25, 2025, at 6:30 PM in Room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 21-25, Zone 25-23, for a variance or variances if necessary from the requirements of Article 11, Section 1128, and Section 1172, under the Wareham zoning bylaws, to NH sign of 66 Gold Ledge Avenue, Auburn, New Hampshire, proposing to reface MID with new faces to match Noria rebrand located at 2501 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass. That appears on Assessors Map 84, Lot 1017, in the CG zoning district. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, name and addresses, please, for the record.
Good evening. My name is Peter March, New Hampshire Signs, 66 Gold Ledge Avenue, Auburn, New Hampshire.
All right, so,
I'm Grant Michael with New Hampshire Signs, 66 Gold Ledge Avenue, in Auburn, New Hampshire.
Michael Durant, Nuri Energy, 326 Clark Street, Worcester.
okay, you with Nuria?
Yes.
All right, so, wanna brief us, what are you doing? What are you, I understand in Wareham, if you put a paintbrush on a sign, you need a variance, so. No, literally, if you gotta change the color, you need a variance, even replacing or anything. So just brief us, the size, if it's changing, the colors, the name, what brings you here?
So the site is changing from mobile to Noria. It has some Noria graphics on it currently, but the entire site is being changed from mobile to Noria. So that involves changing the ID sign,
Right,
and we're going to reconfigure it, but we keep the same structure. So the faces change on the sign. We move some things around to fit the Noria corporate logo. On the building, everything is remaining the same. So Dunkin' Donuts remains the same, Noria on the building remains the same, and Amato's remains the same. So nothing is changing there.
so basically, the contract with Nuria finished with Mobile, they gotta remove Mobile's name?
Yes, sir.
And name it like the one in West Wareham?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, very-
So here's where the major change happens. The change that you're going to see is the canopy. The canopy changes from the mobile lit canopy. It has a big 2-foot lit band around the edge, and it changes to a Noria green canopy. The mobile canopy has a single 11 square foot sign on it. It's parallel to the highway. It's relatively useless, honestly. What Noria wants to do is they want to put logos on each side of the canopy. And the rationale behind that is that you've got a south entrance and you have a north entrance. Everyone comes through the one entrance. We want to divide the traffic so that we're promoting the south entrance equally to the north entrance. So what we're asking for is we're asking for those signs on the edge of the, that sign and that sign on the edge of the, on the canopy. So on the south end, we're going to have a sign that is basically 90 degrees to the traffic. We're going to have one parallel to the traffic to replace the mobile sign. And you have the ID sign on the north end, and that will promote traffic coming onto the side on the north end. So is that relatively clear?
Yeah, so you're gonna put, so you add in square, what are you allowed for square footage on that
So
canopy?
we are allowed, if we were taking everything away, we're allowed 120 square feet.
And what are you proposing?
We have currently got 151 square feet.
Yeah.
The issue is that the mobile letters are fairly small, 11 square feet. The Nuria logo is 16. So if we were to change everything like for like, okay, and add only one Nuria logo, 16 square feet, we would increase the square footage that we have by 5 square feet.
By 5 square.
We want to add one Nuria logo to the south end for the purposes that I've explained. That brings us up to 172 square feet.
Okay.
So essentially, we're asking to change a number of existing signs. I don't know if you got the narrative that I put
Excuse
in.
me, the existing signs you're changing, it's square foot for square foot.
The idea is square foot for square foot. The Naria on the building is square foot for square foot. The Amatos on the building is square foot for square foot. The Duncan is square foot for square foot. The only change is that the canopy has 11 square feet, your mobile sign, and we want to add another Naria sign. And the Naria signs, as I explained, are 16 square feet. So we're asking essentially for a little bit more to accommodate a Naria logo, and then another little bit more to add a Naria logo to the south
So you're
end
going
of
to
the
take
canopy.
an 11-foot sign to 16, so there's 5 feet, and then you're going to add another one at 16.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's
So you're adding
21.
21 square feet
That is correct, yeah.
gross total
Correct.
in the
Correct.
whole.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct.
21 square, 5 fours are 20, just a little bit more than a half a sheet of plywood.
Yes, I guess so.
Yeah.
A little less. Sheet of plywood, 32, yeah, you're right.
A little bit more,
I'm thinking of sheetrock. Yeah, all right, yeah, a little
a
more.
little more than a half a sheet.
Two-thirds of it had sheet, okay. Troy, do you have a question on that? I do not. Veronica?
I do want to take the time to make a comment about the sign that is near that property. But was it Naria or the car wash maybe that we gave?
Different
The
Nori.
car wash.
Is it a different one?
But this is the
That's
one
not-
down by the police
Yeah.
department?
Yeah. This is
Oh,
20
across from where
one. You're
Morse-
thinking of the 2416, I think.
Gotcha. Oh,
Yeah.
wrong location.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a comment.
Right church, wrong pew.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
What's that?
Chris?
I'm all set. Basically, the freestanding sign, the square footage is remaining the same.
Yes.
So you're just adding the square footage on the canopies.
Yes.
Correct.
I'm fine.
Richard?
All set.
Awesome. Okay, anyone in the public who want to speak in favor of this matter? Anyone against? I hear none. You want to add anything, sir?
Nope,
You're
I'm
good?
fine, thank you.
Can we move to close?
So moved.
Get a motion to close this portion, public hearing by Mr. Akabachi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Debonese. All in favor, say aye. Troy? Aye. Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, Nazir, aye. It's closed. What's the wishes?
Move to grant.
We have a motion to move by Jim to grant the variance as presented by Nuria. Do I have a second in that motion? Second, is that Troy? All in favor, say aye. Troy? Veronica?
Abstain.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, aye. It's 4-0-1. It carries. Okay, you good?
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Patty, just put on the decision meets statutory requirement of MGL 40A, Section 10. Thank you. And these would be the findings. Thank you. And standard conditions with that.
Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on June 25, 2025 at 6:30 PM in room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 22-25 for a variance or a special permit from the requirements of Article 6, Section 628, and Article 13, Section 1352, and Section 1353, under the Wareham zoning bylaws, to George Westerman and Marilyn Augustin of 109 Hancock Street, Somerville, Mass., proposing to demolish existing living room and portion of second-floor structure, add foundation to code under this portion of the home, and rebuild on the existing footprint located at 177 Onset Avenue, Wareham, Mass. This would appear on Wareham Assessors Map 1, Lot 139, in the Onset Village 1 zoning district.
Name and address?
Thank you. I'm Heidi Petrowitz with Concierge Building Company. This is Dominic Ricciarelli, 32 County Street, Lakeville, Massachusetts, 02347. We're here on behalf of Marilyn Augustine and George Westerman.
Okay. So
Marilyn
wanna bring-
Augustine, 109 Hancock Street, Somerville, and my husband, George Westerman, is at work right now in Cambridge on the Zoom.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So what are you trying to do? Do you want to explain it briefly?
The existing structure is rather dilapidated. Marilyn and George bought it about a year ago, and the house is in need of extensive rehabilitation. It's not really meeting code in a lot of ways. We want to make some renovations to make it more attractive in its very prominent location in the neighborhood directly on Onset Ave. We also are proposing to add some solar panels to it, make the house a lot more efficient. We're proposing a high-efficiency heating system, all heat pump heating system. The electrical panel is relatively new, but the wiring is all quite old. We're in the process right now of having the house evaluated for hazardous materials, and we'll be doing the abatement on all of that once permitted.
Okay. What are you doing with you want to do a renovation? Where's your architecture plans?
This is the only thing that is added to the actual footprint. Other than that, there's a portion of the home over here that will be demolished and under this section, this needs to be torn off because there's no
Same
foundation.
footing, same,
Exactly.
okay.
The only addition to that existing footprint is this
Yeah,
language.
the reason for that demolition is there's a lack of a foundation in that area.
Yeah.
So we need to remove that, put in a proper foundation,
All right.
and build on that.
And right now, we have 3 front doors, and we'd just like 1.
I'll pass these plans, just let me look quick. So you just add in those straps, right?
Yes, just for a secondary means of egress.
Chris, do you mind if I pass it to the other board this way first?
That's right.
No?
I'm good with it. I've read, you want to see this, you want to pass it down? Oh, they've got a plan. Okay.
That's just the site plan.
They're doing the same.
So this could be acted on as a special permit?
If the board feels so.
If the board feels as though it's not detrimental to the neighborhood?
That's existing and non-conforming.
And they're currently, on the FAR, they're supposed to be 20%, and they're currently at 32, and they're gonna be bumping it to 34, a 2% increase on the FAR increase.
We would certainly be amenable to any guidance if you guys wanted us to make those, the landing and stairs permeable.
Building coverage, you okay, you're under 30. Your impervious required, you could go up to 70, and you're only at 39, so you don't need a variance on that.
The only thing
is the setback.
The FAR, the only thing that, they're increasing the FAR by 2% from what they're allowed 20%, they're currently at 32, and they're gonna go to 34. According to the building,
That's
according
existing.
according to the commissioner's letter.
See, that's not proposed. That's a good question, I didn't even look at that.
Which
Are you converting this to?
I think is insubstantial, frankly.
Staying as a 3-family, or is it changing?
It's
No.
currently a 5-family.
Oh, it was 5 units. That's why we have 5 doors and 3 front doors and
Okay.
2 side doors. But we just want to live there.
Okay, great.
Okay.
If, oh, go ahead.
So it's 5 family, you're doing at one?
Well, it was called the Anchor Inn. Maybe you knew it. It had a big anchor. It's on Onset Ave. It's blue, and it was
Oh,
owned.
yeah.
And it was 5 units, but they were extremely small. So we have 3 kitchens. We have 5 bathrooms, but to get from the front of the house to the back of the house, you have to go through something called a lemon squeeze. If anybody would like to experience a lemon squeeze, you're welcome to come. So it was just a very unique 5-unit place. I'm sure it was awesome when it was like
You
in
bought
its
it from
heyday.
Barry?
Pardon?
You bought it from Barry?
From Barry?
His name Barry?
We bought it from a
Goldstein?
gentleman who doesn't live in the state, and his sister Pam does live 2 doors down from us still.
it.
She owns the other one. I guess there were 2 inns, the Anchor Inn, and I'm not sure what the other one
One
was called.
behind it, too.
Well, it's there's the hotel on our one side, and then Great Neighbors, who submitted a letter next to us, and then Great Neighbors of Pam, who used to own the house, and then a residential, and then the hotel. So we're sort of surrounded by hotels, but we're not becoming a hotel.
We stopped by Troy.
You're
What do you
actually
think?
making the use less intense.
Yes.
Correct, much less intense,
Troy, what do you think?
unintense.
I have no problem with this.
Veronica?
I love this project. I will say that we have so many people that come before us, for whatever reason, that, you know, making these gigantic houses on these tiny lots and asking for relief of all kinds of stuff, and I'm very pleased with this. You're keeping it as it is, you're using the existing foundation, so thank you very much. You have my wholehearted approval on that.
Jimmy?
I have no comments. I just want the board, or the chair to, maybe that's Mike, that's for the big folder, sorry. I just want the board to be aware there is a letter that's been sent in by a neighbor that they requested either be added to or read into the record when we seek public comment.
Okay. Chris?
This is just for Phase 1, right? Correct?
Right now, what we are endeavoring to do is to get through the appeals process and get the variance for the entire project. But at this point, because of the challenges of working in that neighborhood, the property is very tight, the road is very busy. We're looking to phase the project out such that we can get it done in the off-season, you know, not be interrupting next summer's festivities in town, and then, you know, resume the other 2 phases separately.
Richard? Richard?
No, all set.
Anyone in the public want to speak in favor of this matter?
I have
Anyone? Okay.
I have a letter from Ryan Ruggiero, 175 Onset Avenue. It's a little bit better than a page.
But it's in support, correct?
It's in support. It's very well-written, very flowery, very enthusiastic. The bottom line is, it's in favor.
Okay, very well. Anyone in the public or on Zoom against this project? Anyone against? Hearing none. Would you like to add anything else, ma'am?
I think we're good.
I think we're good.
All right, can we move to close?
So moved?
A motion to close this public hearing by Jim. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Troy. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Myself, Nazir, aye. It's closed.
I make a motion to treat this as a special permit as opposed to a variance. I don't see anywhere that we need a variance.
Yeah. So being existing non-conforming, and we're increasing the
We're not,
FAR ratio from 32 to 34, well, allowed is 20, that's existing non-conforming. The board feel it's not so much detrimental, that's our finding, to treat it and act upon it as a special permit. Motion by Jim, do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Veronica, all in favor say aye. Troy? Aye. Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And myself, Nazi, aye. Now it carry as a special permit. On the special permit. It's fun to Okay, on the special permit, what's the wishes?
I make a motion to grant a special permit to allow construction as presented.
All right, we have a motion to grant the special permit to be special permit and the finding not detrimental to the neighborhood to be go forward as per plan dated, site plan dated May 13, 2025, and it's by Merrill Engineering and Land Surveyor, and also on construction plan, also by Merrill Engineering dated May 13, 2025.
No, that's another copy of the site plan. The building plans are by BF Architect.
Oh, okay. What's the name of the architect firm?
BF Architect, I think
Okay,
it's in the top
BF
one.
Architect. It's Bill Fornaciari Architects, Inc., out of Plymouth, Mass., and it's dated, good question, I don't see on the stamp. Do you know when was this plan dated, if you don't mind? We just have to put them as a reference.
Pull it up in my email.
Oh, okay. Sorry, yeah, that's easy to look, right? So 4/9/2025. So this is our motion based on these plans. So this project will be built according to these plans I mentioned, the site plan and the architect. And like I said, the motion is not so detrimental to the neighborhood. And motion by Jim, do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Troy. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Troy? Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Nazir. So 500 carries. Thank you. You all said.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Have anything from that one before we get going on this, so we don't get things, because
No, you
you
could
don't
have.
need a plan for the file?
You have it online?
I sent 9 copies to the office.
Oh,
and it's
okay.
uploaded to the
All right.
permit.
All right.
We're
you're
good, you can have them. Thank you.
You guys.
23-25. Manny D. Miranda, 2645 Cranberry Highway.
What's Manny doing? Hi, Manny. Hi, Bob. Good evening. Oh, fat one. I think you take the fat one. Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a hearing on June 25th, 2025 at 6:30 PM in Room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 23-25 for a variance from the requirements of Article 3, Table 320, under the Wareham zoning bylaws to Manuel A.D. Miranda and Manuel A.D. Miranda Jr. of 2648 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass., proposing to build a duplex, each side with 2 bedrooms and garage and bonus room above garage, located at 2645 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass. This will appear on Wareham Assessors Map 132, Lot 1030A, in the CG zoning district.
All right, Council, let's hear it.
Yes, my name is Robert Perry. I'm on 191 Main Street, and I represent the applicants.
Okay.
Manny, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Manu D. Miranda, 2648 Cranberry Highway, Wareham.
All right, Councilor.
Manny bought this property back in '23, and the intent at the time was to move a part of his operation from across the street onto this property. He's kind of pushed into buying it before we completed all of our due diligence, but he's going to lose the deal, so he bought it. Once GAF got into it, it appeared to be kind of problematic to be moving part of his lot across the street. Now, this is a piece of property that's changed back and forth in zoning over the years, I don't know how many times. In fact, Paul and I obviously weren't even sure what it was when we submitted to him. But we looked at it on the zoning maps and determined that, in fact, it is CG now. The property has a couple of issues with it, and it's a kind of a funny-shaped little lot. It's a grandfathered lot. At one time, there was a residence on this lot. It was a big house. We don't have any grandfathering on it because it was torn down more than 2 years ago. I think, having represented some of the tenants in the house over the years, it probably had more people living there than we're now looking to have lived there on this lot, if you would allow us the use variance we require. I don't see that there's any real downside on this to the town. This Cranberry Highway, you're all familiar with it. I don't have to tell you what it's like. Right across the street, you got that whole Meadows Avenue development. Right down the street, on the same side of the other, yes, same side of the road. You've got another huge development right by Perry's Ice Cream. You got another big residential development. And up and down Cranberry Highway, you've got scattered, clear residential uses and clear commercial uses. And also, you've got a few people live in their houses there, and they also conduct a little business, which is acceptable. It's not a problem. I think I made a mistake at one point in this thing, because I thought there were three-bedroom, the two-bedroom units he'd like to put there. And if he does, you know, 2 people to a bedroom, you're talking an additional 8 people in the neighborhood. With that huge, huge neighborhood, I don't see any issues at all with adding 8 people. Under the bylaw, I mean, you know, he's conserving property values here, he's providing for housing. I think it's probably a better project for the town by far than if he attempted to put in the commercial use there on that lot. So, you know, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. But I urge you to give us the use variance that we require in order to proceed. Now, the only question I have, and I'm not positive of the answer, is this is a 40,000 square foot lot. If we're in any one of the other 30,000 square foot lot zones, we'd need 45,000 to build a two-family. With no consideration of whether they're, you know, two bedrooms to a unit or 3 bedrooms or 10 bedrooms. I'd feel a lot more comfortable on this, should you see fit to give us this use variance, if you would also give us a variance on area so that if we start proceeding, it can't be attacked. You understand what I'm saying there?
I understand.
I mean, I think I'm right that we don't need it, because there's no requirement under the bylaw for anything as to residential use on the,
I think
in that district. But I'd
general,
still-
general commercial, I think it has to be mixed use to make to add a residential. Let me look quick. You cannot just put residential on general commercial.
It's strip commercial. Is it general or strip?
General. It's general.
General?
That's the one across from Perry Ice Cream, right?
No.
Which one is
This is
that?
down across from DIY Auto Body, across from the Cranberry Bar.
Across your body shop?
Depot, yeah, his body shop, Depot,
It's
Depot,
general
yeah, sure.
commercial?
Discount Auto,
Discount Auto, right across
Okay.
from Discount Auto.
right across the street. That was why he bought it.
Does anybody have the letter from the commissioner, the denial letter?
It's in, it should be in here, in your package.
I not
See it.
Just give it back to me.
The zoning bylaw does permit you to issue use variances.
Right, I
That's what
understand
we're
this.
seeking.
We just gotta make sure in the GC,
Residential districts, village districts, other districts. Are we going to use other districts? General commercial, there we go. That's what we're after, general.
Yes.
yeah.
And, okay, general commercial, you can look at it. I'm gonna,
Just gotta look at 3.
I know everything on Cranberry Highway on both sides of it was strip commercial at one point, from town line to
Then
town
30
line.
at one point.
Then they-
I've never seen any of our zoning bounce around the way that has.
I know, and then they adopted a new zoning map. Well, I'm sorry, they printed a new zoning map in 17 and never adopted it. And we were supposed to be going by the 07. So it's somewhat confusing. So I want to just take a minute to look at the,
All right, general commercial residential is not allowed, period. So you're gonna need a variance to put a residential.
That's what I'm looking for.
Right, and then you need a variance for square footage and frontage. How much frontage you have in that
We've
lot?
got plenty of frontage.
No, you don't. You have 159. You need 200.
All right, then we need both.
Hold on 1 second.
That's what I covered in my letter, that we,
You need frontage and square footage if you go by the R30 or the MR30.
if you go by the MR30 or the strip commercial, then yes, we would need 45.
But it's not MR30.
Well,
and
it's not,
strip
so I mean, I
commercial.
don't know how an interpretation would go on that.
Yeah, so,
But I have asked in my writing if you would consider giving us those variances, if you give us the use variances. We don't have
So the
any
most,
questions.
Excuse me, the frontage is 230 some odd feet.
230, right? Because
I think it's
got
around
230.
I thought it was, I thought I feel we had plenty of frontage.
let's speak one at a time, okay?
Certainly, I got the
I
plan
see that.
here.
It's 159.72.
Oh, did I
My
give you
bad.
full? Oh, I did.
But, Counsel, let me finish. It's 159 plus 72. Mr. Mann is right. You have enough frontage. You don't have square footage.
Don't have square footage, exactly what I suggested.
But, okay, let me look at something. On the... All right, the most important, how we're gonna find a hardship for to make it, it's not allowed, so we need a hardship to make it
Oh, I think.
residential.
Got a
We need a
weird-shaped
variance
lot,
to...
And you've got a lot with topography problems. In fact, the topography problems are more what caused it to be a no-go on the commercial use, okay? It slopes down, and then next to it, you got all these wetlands, and so you're stuck in that respect.
Because you need 50 feet from the wetland for commercial.
For commercial, exactly. You only need
30 for that.
30 for the residential.
So this is your hardship, the topography and the closeness to the
Yes,
wetland?
both.
All right. Troy, what do you think?
I don't have a problem.
You okay with that?
I am.
Veronica?
I feel like just listening to everything that's going on, I feel like it's a bit to get my head around, and I will just say off the bat, we don't have a lot of commercial general. What are you saying is the hardship? Again, you said,
If he goes with a commercial property, he's too close to the wetland, then he needs a setback from the commercial, 50 feet. For residential, it's only 30. If you put a
from
commercial...
the wetland, 30 for residential? When did that happen?
It's always 30 when you do a residential
new
for
build?
Wetland. The Concom would allow you up to 30 feet, no disturbance. Commercial, they want 50. That's the bylaws. You can't get a variance from that.
That's right in the town.
It's on our bylaw, in our conservation bylaw. So if,
So it would have to be from the wetland, the building itself would have to be 50 feet from the wetland,
correct,
as
Any
opposed
development.
as
to...
opposed to 30, it's okay, as opposed to 30.
Right.
So his hardship saying, if I to do commercial, it's not reasonable because I gotta push it too much, then I'll be right on the highway, I won't meet setback. So therefore, this is his hardship to put a residential there. I would say it's topography. Now, being 1 or 2 family, I don't know if we treat it as a MR30 or as commercial, or I don't know what, but if we're gonna give it, it might as well be one package.
What does
If
that
we
mean?
are gonna give it, we'll do like we'll approve a duplex and the variance to exist. Because we can't have,
So why would we approve a duplex if
I
it doesn't
don't
have the
un-
square footage for a duplex?
we don't have to. But we don't have anything on zoning of a general commercial as a residential, how many you need. Let me look if a mixed use, how much, because I know mixed use, you're allowed to do.
I mean, I feel like I can't really grasp this because this is what I have to,
You know,
I'm not,
it's a little complicated because it says no. But
I'm sorry, did I not give you full-size copies of the plan?
I don't have a full-size copy.
Well, I got plenty of them here, God knows, because I had to
Let me
fight like
go
the
to
devil with the engineers to get them.
let me go to 6 quick.
Oh,
Hold on a second. General commercial. All right.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah, we only had one in the folder. I don't need one. I can look over, I know I know the property.
On a residential, on a general
Bob.
commercial, Veronica,
Yeah.
We're good. I can look with Veronica.
on a general commercial, if you do in a mixed use, okay? You need 5,000 square feet for each unit. If he has to put, if he goes out and put an office there, you have 40,000 counselor there?
You got
Yes,
40.
a little over 40.
So if he is to go do a mixed use, he could do, let's say, a hair salon,
You could put a
a
use,
body shop, and put 2 additional units.
5,000 per unit.
We do 5,000, the first unit 5,000, and believe it or not, each additional unit 1,000. So he could put a garage, body shop, he's allowed in general commercial because he's a conforming lot, not like that one we had before us, it's non-conforming. So the other one was a grandfather, this is not a grandfather, this is conforming lot for commercial. So he could do a garage, for instance, hair salon, insurance, on the 30,000, then the first unit is 5,000, and each additional
There's one.
1,000. So he could put
So it's got
one,
40,000 square feet.
he could put one, he could do five units, 6 units,
You could put a used car lot there.
and put a 6 unit on top of it.
And put the two-family as a mixed-use property.
Right.
Instead of looking for a change of use to a duplex, he should be looking for a mixed-use change of use, and then he can have both commercial and residential use. He can sell cars there and let people live there.
Now, the other thing, because he's in septic, he needs 40,000, which he has to benefit from this bylaw. If he's on sewer, he only need 20,000 to benefit from that. So for instance, if he's where Mr. Chris used to be, what the bank is,
Yep.
only need 20,000 to do that, because that's a general commercial. But because he's on sewer, he needs 40, and he has well over 40.
He's on private.
Right.
Yeah.
And the frontage, he needs not 200, he needs 150.
One,
I just read the bylaw, so.
For general commercial, you're going
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
Between residential and general.
So he needs 40,000,
it's good to be Manny.
so he needs 40,000 for a mixed use on a general commercial. If he has to do mixed use, he could do, yes, sir.
I'd like to tell you, bought that property.
Get closer to the mic so it's on.
I bought that property. My wife died 2 days later.
Oh, she passed?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So I called Upper Cape Realty.
I'm sorry, Manny.
Sure, give it a minute.
Uh,
When Upper Cape Realty had that listed with a house on it, I crawled through that house. I knew. You had to crawl through like you were a little kid to get into one of the bedrooms. It was incredible.
Well, this is a phenomenal improvement over what was there, there's no question. Just a shame that the guy chose to tear it down before.
You know,
Yeah.
a loss comes back on us at funny times.
Absolutely.
At funny times, and yet,
I'm sorry to hear that. I know her well. She was a nice lady. I didn't know that. I'm sorry, Manny.
Anyway, when my wife passed away, I called Upper Cape Realty and I said, I don't want the property. Keep the deposit. Couple months went by. He walked in. 2 trucks over there wanted to buy it. He says, Manny, do you still want the property? I said, yeah. He called Upper Cape, Nancy Angus, and he says, is the property available? She says, who wants it? Manny. She says, if Manny wants it, he can buy it. She says, but I have a buyer now, but I give Manny first choice. I told her, keep the deposit. She didn't keep it. She mailed me the deposit back. He walked in and he said, do you want it? I said, yes, I'll take it.
All right.
Meanwhile, I quit school in the 7th grade, but I own 35 houses, a 35 piece of property. So I'm not the brightest bulb I'm not the brightest bulb, but
I think you are.
I knew enough not
Keep
to.
telling him that. He's
I
done
knew
very
enough
well
not
for
to
himself.
smoke or drink.
You don't give yourself
Yeah,
credit.
bright bulbs burn out faster.
What's that? And I was married 54 years. My wife got her COVID shot.
54 years married and you're only 48 years old.
I'm 80 right now. 54 years married. My wife got her COVID shot. 2 weeks later, she got a blood clot and died.
Sorry to hear that again. So anyway, here's what before us. The guy could put a business and add 5 units, he's got plenty room, or he could do duplex and let it rest. And
I think it's a lesson to, yeah, I mean, he could actually ask
He
for more
can't put a
than...
business.
He can,
That's
of
what
course.
the hardship is, correct?
Right, but he could put a narrow building. He could narrow it to 20 feet
So are you
instead
saying?
of 45.
So are you saying he doesn't have a hardship?
If he put, who's gonna put a business 20 feet wide?
Does have a hardship and can't put a business, you're saying?
No, listen to me.
No, you listen to me.
No, I mean, who's gonna do a building 20 feet wide?
No one.
I mean, that's what we ran into.
20 feet, wow, you could put a 12-foot wide mobile home in there and they're 60 feet long.
Right, that's the thing.
And we
Take the axle off of it, put it on a foundation and it's permanent.
Whatever you guys want.
There's this engineering
No, that's what I
solution
want-
to every
I wanted-
I
problem.
think this would really be a lot nicer project for the town than a bunch of little tiny buildings that we probably couldn't get as many as we might under the bylaw, once again because of conservation.
I'm hearing there's a hardship, which makes me okay with the project.
Unless Manny wants to go back and rethink, put a business and 5 units. You want him to do that?
I don't think that's possible because the wetlands are there and he can't get so close. He
And
needs
could put a-
parking
he
for
could
5
put a
units.
insurance agency, 10 by 10.
Don't try and scare me with this nonsense.
That's what I would do. I put a little office, insurance agency, 12 by 12, and
Put a-
slap 5 units.
Put a fruit stand, sell tomatoes.
I've talked about this bylaw to change it long time ago,
I've
and
heard
nobody
sometimes
changed
he
it.
sold lemons.
What do you think, Chris?
I'm good with the project.
Jimmy, Richard.
I'm good.
I'm hoping, Mr. Turner, listening, we should take a look at this bylaw. We discussed that before because it's been written wrong. And when Richard and I and Jimmy went to the planning board long time ago, we talked about it, and I don't know, they just brushed it off. It's because it just, if you have a 50,000 square feet unit, you could do 20 units on a business, small business, and add 20 units. It
Crazy.
just-
I
it
know, it's
doesn't make
crazy. I
sense.
remember the law too, but,
I don't like tomatoes, sell cucumbers.
All right, that being said, anyone in the public want to speak against this project? I hear none. Anyone in favor? I hear none. Councilor, before we close, you like to add anything?
No, I mean, I think you understand what the project is, and I'm just asking you to do what you have to do to approve it so that
All right.
Andy at 80 years old can get on
Yeah,
with his
you
life.
lost stuff in the back there, Nazir, I'll fill up.
You want less stuff?
I make a motion to close the public portion of this hearing.
I have a motion to close by Jimmy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Veronica. All in favor, say aye. Troy? Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy? Aye. Chris?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, Nazir, aye. It's closed. Now what's the wishes?
I move to grant a, do we need a variance or a special?
Variance.
A variance. I move to grant a variance to allow a duplex, condex or duplex?
Duplex. He could
Duplex.
condo it if he wants in the future.
You try to do it in the future. Duplex.
Duplex.
Duplex, 2 bedrooms with a garage on each side, total of 4 bedrooms, per the plans presented.
Okay, and that will be in perpetuity. Okay? So you can't change it in the future.
No, I don't think there's any intent to. I mean,
So that'll be on the variance, Patty, you add, that variance will be in perpetuity. Any discussion on the variance? I hear none. Do I have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Second by Veronica. All in favor, say aye. Troy? Aye. Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And myself, Nazir, aye. Thank you. Good luck.
thank you very much, folks.
Patty,
See you back.
just
You too.
also add,
Thanks.
meet
Good night now.
statutory requirement on Chapter 48,
You can shake our hand.
Section, good luck, man. Sorry about your wife, man. Sorry, Patty.
I think you're not being truthful about your
Meet,
age.
meet statutory requirement 48, Section 10, and the finding is
Luck with the
the
project.
topographic of the property. Thank you. All right, the last one, 24-25, Ricardo and Andrea Silva, 1 Canterbury Way.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board.
Good evening.
My name is Ricardo
Gotta
Silva.
read you in before you start.
That's okay, but you could say your name. Go ahead. Say
My
to
name
you.
is Ricardo Silva. This is my wife, Andrea Silva.
All right, thank you. Just give us a minute to read the...
I was pushing them in fast before anybody could get up here before, but this one I didn't want to mix the paperwork up. The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing on June 25, 2025 at 6:30 PM in room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 24-25 for a variance from the requirements of Article 6, Table 628 under the Wareham zoning bylaws to Ricardo and Andrea Silva of 1 Canterbury Way, Wareham, Mass., proposing to build an attached 24-foot by 24-foot two-car garage with a 24-foot by 24-foot living area above the principal residence located at 1 Canterbury Way, Wareham, Mass. That appears on Assessors Map 49, Lot 1, in the R30 zoning district.
Okay, very well, sir. Want to tell us what you're doing?
Yeah, looking at simply a 24 by 24 two-car garage, and above the garage have additional living space above it for the same size. And I
Okay.
need, due to the side setback requirements, I have, there's a portion of the garage, the southeast corner of it, will extend past the 10-foot setback variance. So it gets to a corner on the garage, it only will be at like 5 feet setback from my property line instead of the,
10 feet.
instead of the 10 feet, correct.
What's next to you?
There's a 20-foot easement that's right after that, and then there's our neighbors that are right after that. So the Canterbury Associate has a 20-foot easement in between.
Yeah. Oh, there's a cranberry for the cranberry box?
No, it's not Cranberry Bogs, it's just a...
Oh, Canterbury, there's an easement that goes in the back?
Correct, correct. Because the Canterbury Associates, when it was built back in '88, prior to us, we didn't purchase it till '96. It was built in '88. I guess the builder at that time was supposed to, there was supposed to be a whole bunch of common area, that there was supposed to be like a tennis court, swimming pool, and a house, but I guess the builder at that time went bankrupt, never finished. So we technically own a part of, we're responsible for part of the taxes on the common area that's there. So it's not like it's right next to our neighbor's property. There's an easement that goes along because we're the first house in this development.
Okay. And apparently, if you push it forward, you don't meet setback in the front.
Correct,
And if you push it backwards, you don't meet sides.
correct.
And if you want to meet setback, your garage would be only like 14 feet wide,
Correct.
which is,
And it's only a corner of the part.
right, and you have stairs inside.
Yeah.
You want even 14 minus the stairs, 3 feet, barely park a car. All right, so the topography, I believe his hardship would be a topography of the property. If everybody looks at it, we start by questions. Troy?
I don't have any questions right now.
Where's,
Veronica?
Is that your shed that's there, that's going to be
Yeah, and
relocated?
currently, and that shed I had put there years ago, never had it surveyed and all that until this point in time. So that's obviously going to be removed.
And put within your...
Yeah, it's going to be
Within
put
the-
into the backyard, correct, correct.
so where's Canterbury Way? I'm sorry, I usually know where everything is, and...
You know where Swiss Beach is?
Beach.
You know where Shaw's is if you go down?
Yeah, I
Swiss
know where
Beach?
Shaw's is, I know where Swift Beach is. Okay.
So 1 mile down the road where Unisas is, you take a left and then you take another left.
Is it the one that goes in and comes back out?
It's just a close cul-de-sac. So,
Oh, I know where that, yeah, okay, I know where it is, I'm sorry, okay, it took me, yeah.
yeah.
I know just about, you know, that,
The
I've
whole
been in the
town?
town for 3 weeks now, I know everything. I know where everything is, but this one wasn't clicking for me. Okay, so you're taking the shed that's on somebody else's, partially on somebody else's property.
No, it's actually on my property, it's just on the easement. The shed is actually on part of the easement of the,
That's not a property line I see on the site?
that's my property line, yes, but right,
Doesn't it show the existing shed?
over the property line, correct, but that's onto the
You're
easement.
taking it off the,
It's on the easement of the association right now.
yeah, so it's not, the
correct, it's not on the line.
association owns the property that,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah, but I
You're
own
taking
part of it,
You're
too.
moving it onto your own property, where?
We won't need it. We won't, once we have a garage, we're not gonna need a shed.
Oh, see, the shed's going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I can put it back, I might still keep it like back by the deck, that's the only thing, but it'll be, it's a plastic shed, it's a movable shed, and it's actually broken up, so I gotta,
When you go to move it, you're gonna find out you can't, and it's gonna fall apart, and then you're gonna have
You
an
have to throw it
expense of
out.
getting rid of
We
it.
shouldn't need a shed after we have a two-car garage, though.
I got it, okay. I got it. That's all I want, that's what I was trying to get. So a triangle of your building is not within the 10 feet setback?
correct.
Okay. And I know the neighborhood. Now I'm good. Okay.
If you move that shed, you're gonna meet setback, or you end up back before us.
I'm sorry?
You're gonna move the shed, you're
Yes.
gonna make sure it meets setback, or you'll end up back here.
Okay, yeah, no.
You
that's-
won't get occupancy permit, okay?
Yeah,
Just to
no.
let you know.
No, that's
The
definitely,
board feels to grant the variance.
yeah,
So
nope, that's not
by
an
the
issue.
time for occupancy, the commission will send you back if you don't meet.
Yeah, no, it won't be there.
Rich, Chris?
No back door from the garage?
No, there is going to be a back door on the garage. We haven't drawn the plans completely yet with the architect. He just gave us preliminary drawings, and to discuss with that, there is going to be one door where the stairs are currently right now inside the house going in, and I explained to him that we're going to have a exit door on the rear of it. We're not sure yet exactly where it's going to fall.
Yeah, because I was looking at these, I was surprised you didn't put a door in the back of the,
Yeah, no.
in the back of the garage. And that room above the garage is going to be like in between levels? Is that going to be like in between levels?
It should be like the kitchen door.
It's going to meet the kitchen door, so it'll go up a
Come up
little. It's
a
just
little.
add a couple of bedrooms and a bathroom.
So it'll be a couple steps from the bedrooms, different, it's not gonna be exact.
No, it won't be at the same height because it's a raised ranch, so the height level, for the height of the garage, I need to actually raise it up, so it might be like 3 feet above from where the current level is right now.
All right, Richard?
All set?
All set.
He said he's all set.
All right, anyone in the audience or on Zoom in favor of this project?
Our neighbors have concerns. They're the next-door neighbors that meet directly to that portion. I spoke with them earlier today. They had concerns about the trees that were being cut. They thought I was going to clear the whole lot. but-
All right, you want to come forward, ma'am? sir?
Are they in favor or opposed?
Well, let's hear it.
I don't hear too well, but you can hear me.
Yeah.
That's all right, I don't listen too well.
I need your name and address for the record.
47 years ago, when we bought our house, they assured us that they would never build behind us.
Yeah, let him.
Okay, ma'am, your name,
Sandy Rosen, 2 Irene Avenue, Wareham.
and sir, his name?
I'm Jack Rosen.
Jack, okay, so,
And he did build it. The beauty of our house, and we have a full-length deck on the back, is we are fairly secluded with trees on 3 sides. Mr. Silva has assured us that he would remove a minimum of trees so that we can retain our privacy on the side facing, the side of our house facing the side of his house, which in essence is the south side of his house.
okay, ma'am, you want to say something?
And we just want to make sure that only a few trees are going to be removed.
Okay, well, here's the deal. The way he's gonna do it, past 10 feet, his setback is 10 feet. Past 10 feet, we can't
Right.
make him do anything.
Right.
Where he's moving with the garage, there's already shed, so the tree's already cleared.
Right.
So we could restrict on the variance, if the board decide to give him a variance, we could restrict that little triangle, if you saw the plan, that he only cut exactly where he needs to.
Right.
But the way the plan's looking, there's no trees there.
There's a lot
But
of
there is trees in front of his, the corner of his garage, which is within the setback. Yes, I see that, sir. Within the setback, which is, he can cut them. And if you want to show you, I'll show you in the plan, ma'am. And here,
We have the same one. Is that the one you have?
right. So you see where the tree lines on the front corner of the garage?
Right.
Those he could cut regardless, it's within the setback. He needs to cut them to build the garage.
So it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees?
No, well, he needs to cut 1, 2 trees in order to do that garage.
Right.
But he will leave 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only
Okay.
on the corner, there's
Yep.
one tree in front of the garage,
Right.
1 tree inside the garage.
Right.
And one tree on the front right corner.
Right.
So I'm assuming needs to be cut to build the garage.
Right. Those are
We
the
could
trees we
restrict
saw
him
today.
that the trees on the easement, of course, and the trees on the property line not to cut them.
Right.
We could
We don't
restrict
want-
that.
We don't want to cut them.
Okay, I understand, but we could restrict that. You understand, ma'am?
Yep.
If that works for you?
Yes.
Sir, that works for you? I don't know if that works? Okay.
Yes,
Those are the three. 1, 2,
Mr.
3.
Schiff and I looked at it at 5 o'clock today. There appeared to be about 2 or 3 trees would have to be removed.
3.
Well, when I measured them, they're actually, because they're not all based on this site plan, they're technically not all listed there. When I showed him, based on that, there's like 5 to be specifically.
And
I
you guys
pointed to-
agreed on it?
Yeah,
Pretty
I
much?
showed it with him, and I said, but like I explained to him, and I'll go back to him afterwards, because I haven't been able to get a contractor to come out and give us a proposal until the contractor comes out and then assesses it and tells me, I'm looking at only removing 5 trees.
Yeah.
And that's what I explained to him, and based on the layout and where the garage is. Once I get the contractor out, and if I can get him to confirm that it will only be those 5 trees that he needs removed to build a garage, then we'll move forward. If there's an issue with it where he says, no, you need to do more than that, then I could discuss it with him and coming back in front of the board to discuss that, and I could take photos of the, the land and so forth. Because again, I'm not looking to clear the lot.
Right.
I don't want to do that. We've been there for all these years. I'm just trying to do the hardship because it's a pie-shaped lot. The other option would be is I have more than enough room towards the back of it, and then I would have to build an ADU, and I could clear the whole lot back there. So instead of having 5 trees removed, now we're looking
Right.
at 15 or 20 trees.
Right.
So those are the options. I'm trying to keep it minimal and also to keep the community set the way as it is.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to go overboard, with cutting down the trees and all that.
Just keep the character of the neighborhood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because technically,
I
towards the
understand.
back of the lot, but then it would look odd where I'd
Correct.
have, a separate garage in the back of the lot with a living area, and then at that point in time, because it's my in-laws that are moving up from Florida, and I would have to, I know mine was, her mom, and,
Yeah, I understand.
so I'm trying to make it character-wise, but due to the fact that the lot's like that, it's the
Yeah,
issues
you
that I'm
stop.
running across.
Okay. All right, in our conditions, if the board is to grant it, we will say in our conditions not to clear past what's needed for the garage and 5 feet over, because you need to dig to make foundation, so you need at least 5 feet.
Yeah, that's why,
You know what I'm saying? Okay, so at least you need 5 feet past the garage.
Yep.
Cleared, okay. All right, that's the comments. Troy? Okay, did anyone on Zoom want to speak in favor or against? I hear none. Board members, any comments?
This is a note on here that the application needs to be signed by the applicant.
Okay,
I thought I had signed it.
It's not signed.
do you want to sign it for her?
Yeah.
Sonia, we're gonna put it on the front page of the file.
Yeah, she's 80, and she's tired of the,
Just my name or?
One's good.
passed away, and
Yeah, who's on the deed? Are you both on here? Martha and Andrea.
Is your wife on the deed?
She is. Yeah,
It's always.
so make sure you could sign as well.
My dad
Yeah.
who wanted to move down there because he didn't want to deal with the snow.
Where are your parents coming from in Florida?
My mom, it's just my mom, because my dad's passed away. Palmetto, on the west side.
Gulf Coast?
Yeah, they got hit pretty bad the last one, the hurricane, so she's tired
We're
of
not
that.
liking it anymore.
Oh, no, she never.
Thank
It
you.
was my dad's idea that he wanted to move down there because he didn't want to deal with the snow. It was never her dream, so she's by herself.
All right, anything would you like to add, sir? Before, okay, nothing. Ma'am, you guys want to say anything else? You good? All right, let's move to
Commissioner?
close.
Commissioner?
Okay.
Second.
Second by Veronica, all in favor, say aye. Troy?
Mr.
Veronica?
Commissioner?
Jimmy? Richard?
I was trying to ask a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was just curious, was there anything in writing? I'm not trying to be a pain, but that when the neighbors said that they promised them, but there was nothing ever in writing saying that they couldn't clear the trees, right?
No, there's nothing in writing, but we're gonna put restrictions on it if we decide to grant.
So he's already said that he's not gonna do it. Why do we need to condition it?
No, we're closing the public hearing. If the board choose to grant the variance, Rich, I will, personally, I'm gonna put some restrictions unless any board member gonna do it.
Well, again, I'm just confused. If there was nothing in writing, he's gonna do the minimal. I don't know why we should condition it.
Well, we're gonna condition it so he doesn't do maximum. So he'll do the minimum.
But there's nothing in writing saying that he doesn't have to. He's being a nice guy doing what he's doing. Why should we I'm just curious. I
mean, just to make
I feel we don't need to condition it because he's already got an agreement with the neighbors. I mean, he's only gonna do what he's gonna do. And he said that already.
Just to satisfy, I would say just to satisfy the neighbors, being a variance, it'd be nice to satisfy the neighbors.
And also, if I could add, that we are granting the variance because of the shape of the lot, and in order for it to keep the character of the neighborhood, I think it is important for us to put a little bit of restriction on there to do that.
Ma'am, that's okay. You can't talk anymore.
And
Close.
actually, I would say it even, Rich, I'm saying it despite even, or not despite, but regardless of the neighbor's comment, I think it's important to try and keep the character of the property, especially where the variance is being granted.
Yeah, I completely understand, but I feel that there's already... All right, I'm done. Thank you.
I think I know what Richard's saying, so let me ask a question. You got variance. Say it again?
The mic.
Sorry, I was coughing and I turned it off. If we grant a variance with conditions, those conditions go to the property, does that somehow prevent this homeowner from cutting a tree down in his yard in the future?
By the garage, yes.
Within a,
By the garage, yes, it will restrict them.
So-
Unless the tree falls in the house. Unfortunately, it's closed, we can't discuss it with you.
so,
We didn't finish the vote.
We didn't finish voting.
Okay, well, we are gonna reverse
we
it.
closed the public portion of it.
We still
We were
discussing.
voting on the public
Yeah,
portion.
no second yet.
So we-
And Rick asked the question.
Oh.
Okay, okay, so it still is.
I interrupted
Okay,
the vote.
Rich,
Yeah.
got you now, sorry.
Would you guys like to reverse your vote so the gentleman speak, or do you wanna close?
I'll withdraw my motion to close the public portion and keep
Okay.
the floor open.
I'll
All right.
second.
Second by Veronica. All in favor, say aye for withdrawal. Troy? Veronica?
Aye.
Aye.
Jim? Richard?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Myself, aye, Nazir. Okay, back to you, sir.
The question I would have is if I'm restricted from cutting trees down, there was one tree in my property that for years it kept leaning and leaning, that recently, last year, I had no choice but to get it cut down because it would have fallen on the house. My concern is if all of a sudden now I'm restricted with cutting trees, what
No,
happens if
no.
I have a tree due to a storm that's dangerous? Am I all of a sudden not going to be allowed to cut it
No,
down?
no, no. Listen, When it's dangerous, different. When a tree's fallen, it's different. And we're only restricting the side of the garage, not your whole lot. Only where you build in the garage. Where I was gonna do myself or the board members, if granted, to restrict, to cut into trees 5 foot past their side setback, not the front. You cut what you need on the front. We're not gonna restrict the front. But we're saying what the shed is already cut. So you only have that side, you have a 10-foot setback. You can only cut to 5 feet, I'm suggesting.
Okay.
If a tree in the future fell, of course you're gonna have to cut it. You're gonna need to. If insurance tell you that tree dangerous, you gotta cut it, you're gonna have to.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with our conditions. Safety is different issue.
Okay.
Okay, understood?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it
Yeah.
wasn't going to be, for
And it's only the
decision.
restriction to the side setback where the garage is, that
Okay.
24 feet where you're gonna, the side of the garage, the 24 feet. Not in the front, not the rest of the yard, not anywhere else.
Okay.
Okay? We're back to close the motion.
So I'm just, as we wax redundant about this tree business, so you're saying you don't want any trees cut in the vicinity of the garage? Can we narrow it down to like within 10 feet of the garage, within 15?
5 feet.
5 feet.
He's already 10 feet. He needs to cut
Anything more than 5 feet away from the garage, you don't want cut?
anything away from the property line, 5 feet along the side of the garage, that 24 feet not to be cut. Because in order to put his foundation, he needs to cut 5 feet. So, and he's pretty much on the property line, so we'll keep 5 feet on your property line undisturbed. The shed, it's already disturbed, so
okay.
it's irrelevant.
But you don't want it on the whole,
Only on the garage, only on the garage side, on the side, not on the front. The front is gonna need a driveway. That make sense?
make a motion to close the public portion of this hearing?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Veronica, all in favor, say aye. Troy? Aye. Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Abstain.
Abstain of closing. Chris?
Aye.
Myself, Nazi, aye. It's closed, so 4-0-1, Rich abstaining. All right, on the variance,
Make a motion to grant
all right,
per plans presented.
all right, we have a motion to grant, and the findings are a meet statutory requirement of MGL 48, Section 10, due to the shape of the property. I would add the conditions on the variance that along the side setback, 5 feet along the garage lengths, which is 24 feet in this matter, 5 feet along the property line not to be disturbed. Only 5 feet on the side, not the front. That's my conditions. Anyone else, any discussion in the condition? I hear none. Richard, do you have any discussion in the condition?
Yeah, I'm trying. The connection's kind of hard for me to get in, so, the reason why I abstained through the public, because I wasn't done talking, because I get worried, I'm not worried, but I'm concerned that by putting a restriction on it, it could lead to a court case where if a tree does come down or it gets cut and the neighbors get upset, I mean, it just seems like it's a can of worms if we do it. He's already said that he wouldn't do it, but if you've got the trees hanging over your house, in my experience, it creates ants, it creates rot, it creates mold, it creates mildew. You've got to paint stuff twice as much. So I'm not in favor of really condition it. He's said he's going to be a good neighbor and he's not going to do it. I just don't want to create hardship down, a lawsuit down the road if a tree does get cut down and it violates our conditions.
Okay, very good. So back to the motion. We just, we'll remove the restriction according to Richard. We just just meet the statutory requirement and no restriction in case of these emergency things, he said.
Hey, Richard's got to point roots and so forth and so on, tree gets growing close to
It's
the,
only 5 feet anyway, that big, so.
yeah, so,
Right. That being said, so back to the motion to grant as presented with the hardship that meets chapter 48, section 10. on the statutory requirement. So that's the motion by Jim. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion on the motion? I hear none. All in favor, say aye. Troy? Aye. Veronica?
Abstain.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, Nazi, aye. It carries 401.
And
You
if
good?
it's not clear to you, there is no restriction on the trees.
401.
Okay. Well, I
One
don't...
abstain,
Yeah.
Veronica.
Yeah.
Okay,
It
there wasn't a
costs money,
deny.
And we like the shade, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only way we would remove it is...
But you understand what Richard said,
Yeah.
being a good
Yeah.
neighbor
He d-
doesn't hurt.
And he doesn't want to create a potential problem in the future for lawsuits and...
Well, that was my concern too, is like when it was mentioned, because like I said, I had a tree overhanging the house, as if that comes down and I go...
Well, Richard's concerned if a tree fell on your house, you might come back to us, said you didn't let me cut it, which makes sense.
No,
Oh,
we've
I didn't
had-
think of that.
We've
Listen.
had the property insurance when we went for property
I know,
insurance.
but you
They
never
tell
know.
you.
People could come back, say, oh, well, the town didn't let me.
Yeah.
Now you can, if it fell, you can. Thank you very much, you guys all set.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. All right, any other business to discuss? Here none, let's make a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Jim, all in favor, say aye. Troy? Aye. Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Myself, Nazi, aye. It's closed. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.